His mouth was fire on her throat, nails carving half-moons into shoulders that had carried her nightmares for years. Blindfolded, burning from whatever poison raced through their veins, Aisha Cho and the stranger moved like the world was ending, because for them it already had. She tasted salt and desperation when he groaned against her skin, a broken sound that might have been her name, might have been a prayer. Hands that knew her body better than they had any right to slid lower, pulling her hips flush against him, and Aisha forgot how to breathe. Every thrust felt like a confession neither of them had the words for yet. When he buried his face in her neck and whispered, "Don't let go," her heart cracked wide open. Only when dawn bled through the heavy curtains of the Aurora Hotel's presidential suite did the blindfold slip. Aisha's eyes adjusted to the light, and her world stopped. But hey, before we dive deeper, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss a single second of this fire. Trust me, what's coming will break you in the best way. Stick with us to the very end. The man asleep beside her, sheets tangled low on his hips, had a crimson crescent birthmark just above the line of muscle that disappeared beneath silk. The same birthmark she'd seen 1,000 times on the man who tucked her in after nightmares, who taught her how to throw a punch, who once told her, "You're the only family I have left." Kang Min-jae. Aisha's scream lodged in her throat. She scrambled from the bed, legs shaking, heart trying to claw its way out of her chest. Clothes. Where were her clothes? She found her dress crumpled on the floor, his shirt half-buttoned on her body by mistake. She ripped it off like it burned. Tears blurred everything as she fled barefoot down the hallway, the taste of him still on her lips, the ache between her thighs screaming the truth her mind refused to accept. 8 years earlier. Rain hammered the cemetery like the sky itself was grieving. 14-year-old Aisha stood between two cheap coffins, clutching a soaked photograph of her parents. The relatives around her weren't crying, they were shouting. "She died in the Kang Mansion fire!" Uncle Raymond Park snarled, jabbing a finger at the coffin. "That family owes us millions!" Aunt Diane hissed. "And look at this girl, always trailing after them like a stray dog. No house, no money, nothing. Let the Kangs keep their trash. Let the Kangs keep their trash."
Uncle,
Aisha's
please.
knees buckled.
Can I stay with
Uncle,
you?
Please, can I stay with you? Aunt Diane laughed, sharp and ugly. "Stay where? Our apartment is full. Go beg the Kangs. They love charity cases." A black Rolls-Royce pulled up quietly. Kang Tae-jun and Kang Soo-jin stepped out, umbrellas held by staff. They had been her father's employers for 28 years. Her father had been more than a driver. He had been the man who carried baby Min-jae on his shoulders, who stood outside doors holding secrets for the family. Soo-jin's eyes filled the moment she saw Aisha's small, trembling frame. She whispered in Korean to her husband, "She has no one." Tae-jun nodded once. They walked straight into the argument. "Excuse me," Tae-jun said, voice calm, but carrying the weight of old money. "We will be taking Aisha home with us." Uncle Raymond straightened, greedy eyes gleaming. "Then, compensate the family properly." Soo-jin knelt in the mud, eye level with Aisha. "Do you want to come with us, sweetheart?" Aisha looked at her uncle. He was already turning away. She looked at the coffins, then at Soo-jin's kind, steady face. "Yes," she whispered. That night, in the private elevator to the 78th floor of the Crest, 19-year-old Kang Min-jae waited with his arms crossed. He wore a black hoodie despite the designer suit underneath, like he was trying to disappear. When the doors opened and his parents walked in holding a tiny dripping girl clutching a plastic bag, he didn't speak, just stared. "This is Aisha Cho," his father said. "From today, she's your little sister." Min-jae's jaw flexed. He gave one short nod. "Fine." But when Aisha stepped forward, shivering, he shrugged off his hoodie without a word and draped it over her shoulders. It swallowed her whole. The first month in the Kang penthouse was silence and fear. Aisha slept with the lights on, terrified the ceiling would fall like it did the night her parents burned. She flinched at every footstep. One night she woke up screaming from a nightmare. The door flew open. Min-jae stood there in sweatpants, hair messy, eyes wild. He didn't ask what was wrong. Just crossed the room, sat on the edge of her bed, and pulled her into his arms like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "No one's taking you again." She cried until his shirt was soaked. He never moved. Years collapsed into moments after that. 15-year-old Aisha getting expelled for breaking a girl's nose who called her mother the help. Min-jae picking her up from the principal's office without a word, then taking her to the basement gym. "If you're going to fight," he said, wrapping her hands, "do it properly." 16-year-old Aisha sneaking out to a party, coming home with a split lip. Min-jae waiting in the dark living room, eyes murderous. "Who touched you?" "No one. I handled it." He taught her how to shoot the next day. "The world isn't kind to girls like you. Be kinder back." 17. The night the call came, his parents' car bombed on the coastal highway. Aisha found Min-jae on his knees in the foyer, the phone still in his hand. She was the one who held him that time while he shattered. When the board tried to push him out, 24-year-old Kang Min-jae walked into the shareholder meeting covered in his father's blood, figuratively, and took the company by the throat. They called him the Ice Prince after that. Untouchable. Ruthless. Only Aisha ever saw him bleed. Then came university. Then came the night everything burned again. The night of the Aurora Hotel. Aisha had begged to go out with friends after finals. Min-jae had said no. She went anyway. At the rooftop bar, a beautiful woman in red approached her. "You're Aisha Cho, right? Min-jae sent me to check on you." Aisha frowned, but the woman's smile was warm, then the sharp sting in her arm. The world melted. Across the city, Min-jae took one sip of drugged whiskey at a gala and woke up being half carried down a corridor. They threw him into the suite first, then her. Blindfolds, fever, terror. And then, need. He caught her when she stumbled, his voice rough with panic and lust. "I won't hurt you, I swear." She believed him. God help her. She believed him. She clung to the only steady thing in the storm, his shoulders, his mouth, his whispered, "Stay with me." When it was over, they fell asleep tangled together like they'd done it 1,000 times before. Morning came, blindfold slipped, truth hit harder than any drug. Aisha ran. She didn't stop running for 9 weeks. Until tonight. Until the 2 pink lines. Until she stood outside his study door at 2 a.m., barefoot in his old hoodie, holding the test like a loaded gun. The door was ajar. Min-jae sat at his desk, city lights cutting shadows across his face. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Aisha pushed the door open. He looked up. Tired eyes softened the second they landed on her. "Can't sleep again?" She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "Min-jae," she said, voice cracking like thin ice. "We need to talk." He leaned back, instantly alert. "What is it?" Aisha opened her fist. The pregnancy test fell onto his desk with a soft, deadly sound. His eyes dropped to it. The world went silent. Then he stood so fast the chair crashed backward. "Aisha." "It's yours," she whispered. "That night at the Aurora, it was you." His knees buckled. He caught the edge of the desk, knuckles white. The Ice Prince looked like he'd been shot. "And we're just getting started." Min-jae didn't move. He stared at the plastic stick on the mahogany desk like it was a live grenade. 2 pink lines. His throat worked once, twice, then nothing. The man who could silence a boardroom with a single look suddenly looked 14 again, the night his parents died. Aisha's voice cracked the silence. Say something. Anything. He finally lifted his eyes. They were red-rimmed, wild. You're sure? I took 3 tests, all positive. 9 weeks. She folded her arms over her stomach like she could already protect what was inside. I know exactly when it happened. Min-jae's gaze dropped to her belly, then snapped back to her face. Horror, guilt, and something dangerously soft warred across his features. Aisha, I didn't know it was you. His voice broke on her name. They drugged me too. I woke up alone. I've been looking for that woman every single day since. I know, she cut in, tears burning. I saw the reward, 10 million for the mystery girl. You described the scar on my shoulder, the birthmark on you. He flinched like she'd slapped him. She stepped closer. I ran because I was terrified, because the only man I've ever felt safe with just became the one man I'm not allowed to want. Min-jae rounded the desk in 2 strides and stopped an inch from her, close enough that she could feel the heat rolling off him. Say that again, he whispered. Aisha lifted her chin. I'm not allowed to want you. You raised me. You're my guardian. I stopped being your guardian the night you turned 18, he growled. I've been lying to myself for 4 years, Aisha. Every time you walked into a room, my heart forgot how to beat properly. Her breath hitched. He reached out, slow enough that she could pull away. She didn't. His palm settled over her stomach, reverent, shaking. There's a baby in here, he said, voice raw. Our baby. Aisha's tears spilled over. What are we going to do? He pulled her into his arms so fast the air left her lungs. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed, 8 years of grief and love and terror pouring out at once. I don't know yet, he murmured into her hair, but I know I'm never letting anyone hurt you again, not even me. They stayed like that until the sky outside turned gray. Morning came too soon. Park Jun-ho walked into the breakfast kitchen and stopped dead. Min-jae was making coffee with one hand and holding Aisha against his side with the other. She was wearing his black dress shirt, sleeves rolled to her elbows, barefoot, eyes puffy from crying. Jun-ho's mug slipped from his fingers and shattered. Min-jae didn't even look up. Close the door, Jun-ho. Jun-ho obeyed, eyes wide. Young, what the hell did I just walk into? Aisha tried to step away. Min-jae's arm tightened. She's pregnant, Min-jae said flatly. It's mine. Jun-ho aged 10 years in 2 seconds. The Aurora night? Both of them nodded.
Jun-ho dragged a hand down his face. The board is going to lose their minds. Yoon-sira already smells blood in the water. If this leaks... It won't, Min-jae cut in, voice steel. Not until we're ready. Aisha finally spoke. I'm keeping it. Both men looked at her. I don't care what the world says, she said, hand over her still flat stomach. This baby is innocent. Min-jae's eyes softened in a way Jun-ho had never seen. He pressed a kiss to her temple. Then we protect it. Together. But the world had other plans. 2 days later, Valdera National University. Aisha walked across campus trying to pretend everything was normal. It wasn't. Morning sickness hit her behind the library and she barely made it to the bathroom. When she came out, Park Chloe was waiting with Yoon-sira and a phone already recording. Well, Chloe sneered. Look who's glowing. Too much rich food at the Kang penthouse? Aisha's stomach lurched again, this time from rage. Sira smiled like a shark. Heard you've been extra clingy with Min-jae Oppa lately. Careful, charity cases get thrown out when they outlive their use. Aisha stepped forward. Say it again. Sira leaned in. You're nothing but his pet. Aisha's fist connected with Sira's cheekbone before anyone could blink. The phone clattered to the ground. Campus police arrived in minutes. By lunch, the video was everywhere. Hashtag Kang Min-jae's girl fights Harris. Hashtag Cinderella or crazy. That evening, Min-jae watched the footage on silent repeat in his office, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Jun-ho stood behind him. We can bury it. No, Min-jae said. She shouldn't have to hide. He grabbed his coat. Where are you going? Jun-ho asked. To get my girl. He found her in the university clinic, ice pack on her knuckles, eyes red. The second she saw him, she burst into tears. I'm sorry, I ruined everything. Min-jae knelt in front of her chair, took the ice pack, and kissed her bruised knuckles. You defended yourself. I'm proud. The nurse walked in and stopped short. CEO Kang, this is a student clinic. Then bill me, he said without looking away from Aisha. We're leaving. He carried her out, past flashing cameras like she weighed nothing. That night, the internet exploded again. Kang Min-jae carries mystery girl out of clinic. Who is Aisha Cho? Yoon Sira watched the footage from her penthouse, glass of wine trembling in her hand. They think they've won, she whispered to the dark screen. Let's show them what losing really looks like. She opened a drawer and pulled out a yellowed file. The liability waiver Aisha's father signed the night he died. And a second document no one knew existed. Aisha's real birth certificate. With Kang Tae-jun listed as the father. Sira smiled. Checkmate. The next morning, Aisha woke to Min-jae shaking her awake, face pale. Get dressed, he said. We're under attack. She stumbled after him to the living room where every TV channel was screaming the same headline. Kang Group cover-up. Did CO's father have an affair with staff? Aisha Cho, mistress's daughter, or something darker. The forged birth certificate was plastered everywhere. Aisha's knees gave out. Min-jae caught her before she hit the floor. It's fake, he snarled. Sira forged it. I already have Jun-ho tracing the paper. But the damage was done.
Old society women who once fawned over Min-jae now crossed the street. Board members called emergency meetings. And Aisha couldn't leave the penthouse without being mobbed. That afternoon, Uncle Raymond and Aunt Diane showed up at the lobby with reporters. We're here for our niece, Uncle Raymond shouted. The Kang family has brainwashed her. Security blocked them, but the cameras caught everything. Aisha watched from the 78th floor, arms wrapped around herself. Min-jae stood behind her, hands on her shoulders. They want to break us, he said quietly. They already are, she whispered. He turned her around. Look at me. She did. His eyes were fierce. I will burn this entire city down before I let them take you from me. Do you hear me? She nodded, tears falling. He wiped them away with his thumbs. We fight back, starting now. That night, he called a press conference. No suit, just black shirt, sleeves rolled, looking like war personified. Cameras flashed, questions screamed. Min-jae raised one hand and the room fell silent. Every rumor you've heard in the last 72 hours is a lie, manufactured by Yoon Sira and her father to destroy my family. The forged birth certificate? Already proven fake by 3 separate forensic labs. The waiver my father signed? He signed it to protect me after he took a bullet meant for a 17-year-old boy. Gasps rippled. Min-jae's voice dropped, deadly calm. And Aisha Cho? She is the daughter of the man who saved my life. She is the woman carrying my child, and in 8 weeks, she will be my wife. The room detonated. Aisha watched from the wings, hand over her mouth, tears streaming. He wasn't hiding anymore.
He was claiming her in front of the entire world. But Yoon Se-ra wasn't finished. Because the final weapon hadn't dropped yet. The real paternity test. The one that would prove once and for all whether the baby Aisha carried was Kang blood or something far, far worse. The press conference ended in chaos, but Min-jae didn't care. He walked straight off the stage, past the screaming reporters, and pulled Aisha into his arms right there on live television. He kissed her like the world was watching. Because it was. That night, the internet broke in half. Hashtag Kang Min-jae proposes trending worldwide within minutes. Clips of him saying, "She will be my wife," looped 1 billion times. Half the country called it romantic. The other half called it sick. Yoon Se-ra sat in her father's office, watching the numbers climb, nails digging into her palms until they bled. Chairman Yoon Byung-hun poured himself a drink. "You lost, Se-ra." "No," she hissed. "I still have the last card." She opened the safe behind the painting and pulled out a sealed medical envelope. Inside, a paternity test run in secret from the cup Aisha used at a charity event 3 weeks ago. The result was circled in red. Probability of paternity, 0%. The father was not Kang Min-jae.
Sarah smiled for the first time in days. Let's see him marry her now.
The next morning, the envelope arrived at the Kang penthouse by private courier. Min-jae signed for it himself.
One look at the return address, Valdera Central Laboratory, and his stomach dropped. Aisha was in the kitchen making ginger tea for the nausea. She turned when she saw his face. "What is it?" He didn't speak, just handed it to her. She tore it open. "Read the first line." Then the second. The cup fell from her hand and shattered. "This is a lie," she whispered. Min-jae took the paper with shaking hands. Probability 0%. His vision tunneled. Aisha backed away from him. "Min-jae, look at me. It's a lie. You know it's a lie." But the doubt had already planted its poison. He turned and walked out without a word. Aisha screamed his name, but the elevator doors closed on his broken face. For the first time in 8 years, he left her alone. She sank to the floor among the broken porcelain and sobbed until there was nothing left. Junho found her 2 hours later, curled on the cold marble. He picked her up like a child. "Come on, princess, we're fixing this." They drove straight to the lab. The director met them personally, sweating. "The sample was tampered with," he stammered under Junho's glare. "Someone paid me $500,000 to switch the results. I have the recording." He played the tape. Yoon Se-ra's voice, crystal clear. "Make sure it says 0%. I want him destroyed." Aisha closed her eyes in relief, so violent she almost fainted. Junho took the real test from the trembling director, the one that had never been sent. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. He handed it to Aisha. "Go get your man." She found Min-jae on the rooftop of the crest, wind whipping his hair, staring at the city like he wanted to burn it down. He didn't turn when she walked up behind him. "I was going to let you go," he said, voice dead. "If the baby wasn't mine, I was going to let you go." Aisha stepped in front of him and slapped him across the face. Hard. His head snapped to the side. Then she grabbed his shirt and yanked him down to her level. "Listen to me, Kang Min-jae. You do not get to decide my life for me anymore. You do not get to walk away when it hurts. You promised me forever the night you put your hands on me in that hotel. You don't get to take it back because some jealous snake waved a fake paper." She shoved the real test into his chest. He looked down, read it. His knees hit the concrete.
Aisha dropped with him. He buried his face in her stomach and cried like a man who had finally been allowed to break. "I'm sorry," he choked. "I'm so sorry." She threaded her fingers through his hair. "We're done being sorry. We're done running. Marry me today, right now." He looked up, tears still falling. Today? Today. 3 hours later, the rooftop garden of the Crest was transformed. Only 10 people present. Jun-ho, the household staff who had loved Aisha since she was 14, and a justice of the peace. Aisha wore a simple white silk slip dress that hugged the tiny curve no one else could see yet. Min-jae wore all black, sleeves rolled, eyes only on her.
When the officiant asked for rings, Min-jae pulled out the one he had carried for 8 months, a thin platinum band with a single black diamond. "I bought it the day you turned 21, he admitted, voice rough. "Hid it because I was terrified of what it meant." He slid it onto her finger. Aisha's vows were short. "I was lost the day you found me. You gave me a home, then a heart. I'm keeping all 3 forever." Min-jae's voice cracked on every word. "You are the only person who ever saw me bleed and stayed. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never cry alone again." They kissed before the officiant finished pronouncing them married. Jun-ho whooped so loud the birds scattered. That night, in the bedroom that used to be just his, Min-jae laid Aisha down like she was made of glass. He kissed every inch of her slowly, reverently, whispering apologies and promises against her skin. When he reached her stomach, he paused. He pressed his lips to the place their child was growing and whispered, "I'm your dad. I'm going to love you so hard the world won't know what to do with it." Aisha cried again, but this time they were happy tears. Epilogue, 6 months later. The headlines screamed again, but this time they were kind. Kang Min-jae welcomes, daughter with wife Aisha. First photos of the new Kang Harris. The picture. Min-jae holding a tiny bundle wrapped in pink, Aisha asleep on his shoulder, both of them smiling in the penthouse nursery, city lights glittering behind them like a promise kept. Yoon Sera and her father were arrested 2 weeks after the wedding for fraud, bribery, and attempted murder. Turns out they ordered the bombing that killed Min-jae's parents. Uncle Raymond and Aunt Diane vanished overseas, never to be heard from again. And on the nursery wall, in elegant script, hung a framed photograph. 14-year-old Aisha in the rain, holding her parents' picture, with 19-year-old Min-jae's hoodie around her shoulders. Underneath, in Min-jae's handwriting, "The day my whole world began." Aisha walked in, now heavily rounded with their second child, and found Min-jae staring at the photo. He turned, eyes soft. "You okay?" she asked. He pulled her close, hand resting on her belly. "Never better," he whispered. "You gave me back everything they tried to take." She smiled against his lips. "You gave me everything too." And outside the window, Valdera City glittered on, no longer cold, no longer cruel, because inside the Crest, 2 broken children had built a family stronger than blood. They had built forever. The mark he left on her that night in the Aurora wasn't shameful. It was love. The kind that survives fire. The kind that outlives empires. The kind that starts with a blindfold and ends with a heartbeat. Thank you for staying until the very last word. If this story wrecked you in the best way, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, drop a comment with "I cried," also share this video with every single person you know, and subscribe with the bell on because we drop new heat like this every time. And I promise the next one will hurt even more. See you soon, family. Stay blessed.